The long-awaited and anticipated Path of Exile 2 early access is finally here, guys. And just a quick FYI, I'm actually a pretty big Diablo 2 fan. Played it back in the day, in my teenage years, and I loved it. It just was this dark fantasy world. It was so immersive. The music, everything was just awesome. Now, Diablo 3, I actually liked it. I had fun with it, and never got into Path of Exile 1. I know, heresy. But I knew that they were making a sequel, so I decided to wait for it. And here we are. We're checking it out today. And we're using a pretty high-end PC here. RTX 4090 with a Ryzen 7800X3D. I'm playing on my Ultrawide 3440 by 1440 display. The upscale mode obviously controls your upscaling, but also your anti-aliasing. We do have quite a few options. Now, NIS is a spatial upscaler, and it just makes the image look a bit over-sharpened for my taste. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure how this is going to come across through YouTube, so let's zoom in so I can show you. It is a bit over-sharpened and quite flickery. If you follow my content, you will know that I'm not a big fan of over-sharpened images. We do have FSR, and we can run FSR native AA, which actually cleans up the image quite nicely. It's not really flickery and over-sharpened now. I would personally prefer this over NIS any day. We also have XeSS and Nvidia DLSS with DLAA, and DLAA does an excellent job as usual. For the purpose of this video, we'll be sticking with DLAA. We can take a look at FSR native AA and XeSS in another video perhaps. This is just going to be an initial look at the game. Now, you do have quite a few graphical settings, although nothing too crazy. We also have Nvidia Reflex, which is nice for lowering latency. But yeah, this is Path of Exile 2 early access, guys, and I have to say the performance is actually really good. There is no stutters really. As for first impressions, well, the game oozes atmosphere. The sound effects, the ambient music, it's really nice. Volumetric effects, the lighting is really good. I don't know if it's ray trace lighting. Diablo 4 now has ray trace lighting, but here they actually look very accurate if you pay close attention. Little things like this that can add to the immersion, in my opinion. Unlike Diablo 4 though, this game is actually quite challenging. Straight in the beginning, this guy pretty much destroyed me. You have to dodge away from big attacks, you have to pay close attention, and I like that, because I felt Diablo 4 was way too easy. Matter of fact, I kind of gave up on Diablo 4 about a month after release. It didn't really captivate me. This one is a much better start. And then there's the crazy skill tree, guys. So I had to check this out. I went with Monk. I do like playing a Monk. It can be quite interesting. But look at this, guys. The game told me to put a couple points here. I highlighted a couple things. And I zoom out and look at this. This is insane. It can be quite overwhelming, especially if you're kind of obsessive about putting the skill points in the right things and worrying about it, which I am, but I'm not worrying too much. I'm just going with it. I'm going with the nice build. It's probably not the right thing to do, but guess what? I'm having fun, and that's kind of the point of playing these games. But anyway, let's see if we can increase our FPS up a little bit. With DLAA at native 3440 by 1440, we averaged around 130 FPS. And with DLSS set to quality, now we're close to 190 FPS, guys. And my display, it's the QD OLED Alienware display. It's 175 Hz. So I'm pretty much right at the limit of my monitor's refresh rate. And yeah, this looks extremely smooth. Absolutely. And guess what? I actually got this guy this time. Just had to pay close attention to the attacks that deal a lot of damage. So it's going to be a bit of a... I'm sure someone somewhere is going to refer to it as the Dark Souls of ARPGs. You know it. You know the drill. But I wouldn't quite go that far. Maybe a little bit. I guess any game where you roll around on the floor to dodge attacks can be classified as Dark Souls these days, according to some reviewers. I personally don't think so. I think it's just I think it's a challenging game, and I think that's good, because that's what you want. You want that fulfillment of achieving hardship and succeeding. I mean, that's kind of the whole point, right? All right, so we're about to enter this first town here. Is our CPU performance going to go down the drain? Because that's been the case with a lot of AAA games recently. And yes, guys, but there's a caveat to it. So when I first entered this town, there was a couple stutters until the game caught up. But it did end up being a CPU-bound area of the game. If you look at our GPU utilization, it's between 70 and 80%, which I thought was kind of strange because it's not like it's a big outpost. It's not a town. It's more like an outpost, right? You've seen it on Diablo. It's a couple of vendors, your waypoint, that sort of thing. And there's also real players here as well, but it's nothing crazy going on. So I thought that was strange. But then I like, oh, okay, I guess it is what it is. Until I came back to town after completing a quest. And check this out, guys. We went from getting around 100 to 120 FPS all the way to 160 something FPS. So I don't know if maybe the first time you enter the town there's some sort of an event or whatever it's happening, but hey, look at it's the same town. There's still quite a few real players, same vendors, same everything, and now we're getting around 160 FPS. I wouldn't say that we are completely GPU bound here, but still we're getting a lot more FPS, and the settings are still the same. Even though I have got a bit better gear now, it's still DLSS quality at 3440 by 1440. But yeah, I haven't seen this in any other game. I wish that was the case with Stalker 2, right? Because when you enter those towns, your FPS drops way down because it's CPU bound. I wish the second time you came back that wasn't the case, but hey, it is the case with Path of Exile 2. So yeah, not a very CPU heavy game, which is great, at least as of right now. Now we could try DLSS balance. It's not going to change much because we are more or less CPU bound here still. The only thing that dropped is GPU power consumption and overall utilization, but still the FPS is overall the same, 150 to 160. And if we leave the town and go to the first map, Clearfell, we go back to 200 FPS, which is what we were getting with DLSS quality outside the town. And it looks like this could be a CPU bound scenario. And the reason why I say that is because with DLAA, our 4090 was consuming around 420 watts, and now we've dropped to 330, which, hey, I'm not complaining, getting more FPS and running a more efficient system. Nothing wrong with that. And we're looking for the mud barrow so we can slay a devourer, I guess. And look, we found it. And the mud barrow ended up being, well, your usual dungeon that, you know, you see plenty of in Diablo 4. However, unlike Diablo 4, it was quite challenging. I died a few times. But my mind was kind of blown once I found the Devourer.
What twisted nightmare!
Yeah, guys, what twisted nightmare is absolutely perfect way to sum this up. This boss was pretty tough. I mean, it kicked my butt multiple times. I died multiple times. To the same attack, apparently. Boy, what an embarrassment. But anyway, eventually I did get him. As a matter of fact, I ended up going with the mouse control because the game asks you if you want to use mouse or WASD, and I ended up changing back to WASD. That was actually the right way to do it. I think WASD gives you a bit more control towards the direction you want to roll, whereas when you click, I felt it didn't do as good of a job. At least for me, WASD worked better. But this boss was so much fun. It's not just because it was challenging, but he had multiple stages. At some point, his tail comes out and he can absolutely destroy you. And you have to be on the move here, guys. You can't just sit there and pounce on the boss like you could with a lot of the Diablo 4 bosses that I fought. And I'm comparing it to Diablo 4 because that's one of the more recent games I have a bit of experience with. And this game does compete with Diablo 4. I mean, it has. PoE has since its inception, right? But this boss was excellent. The fact that it's like the second boss or maybe the first main boss and it's so challenging, I thought that was actually pretty cool. And yeah, I mean, there's so many things you have to be aware of, so many AoE attacks. I love it. It's excellent. I can only imagine the type of bosses they have later on in the game. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, Path of Exile 2, guys, has the potential to probably ruin your life. Which, hey, that's fine. I'm all for good games. But now, performance-wise, we did drop a little bit here. Not much. We went from around 220 in the caves to around 170, 160. And I would assume it's probably because of, you know, the boss mechanics. It's a bit more taxing on the CPU. I still stand by the fact that I'm pretty sure that we are CPU bound here. Just because we know the GPU maxed out will consume around 430 watts, right? And we're not doing that. Even though it says 99, 98%, doesn't always tell the whole story, right? But yeah, I did get the boss, and it was extremely fulfilling, and I had a lot of fun, guys. So yeah, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Are you going to be checking out Path of Exile 2? It costs 30 bucks for the early access, or are you going to wait for the full free version? I know, crazy times we live in, but hey, I'm glad. $30, well worth it for what looks like a great ARPG. Anyway, leave a comment down below. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.